There's a fish in a bowl on a shelf in a house in Elmore. And if you happen to be walking past that shelf on some ordinary Tuesday afternoon and you glanced over and noticed it, you might think to yourself, that's just a goldfish. Just a regular, small, blank-eyed, fin-waving goldfish doing what goldfish do, which is mostly nothing. And you would be wrong, because that goldfish grew legs. That goldfish learned to speak. That goldfish walked across an entire city on brand new feet that had never touched ground before, in a body that had never breathed air before, through terrain that was never designed for something like him. And when he got to the end of that journey, exhausted and scraped up and barely holding together, the first thing he did was look for his brother. That goldfish is Darwin Raglan Caspian Ahab Poseidon Nicodemus Watterson III. And tonight, if you're settling in, if the room is dim and the world outside has gone quiet and you're looking for something to carry you gently towards sleep, we're going to spend a long, long time talking about him. Get comfortable. Pull something soft around you. Tonight on Watterson Lore, we are going deep on Darwin Watterson. 200 facts, stories, observations, and gentle deep dives about one of the most quietly remarkable characters in the history of Cartoon Network. We're going to talk about where he came from, what he's made of, who he loves, what scares him, what makes him laugh, and what it means that he exists at all in the kind of world that Elmore is. We're going to take our time. There's no rush tonight. The only destination is sleep. And the road there is paved with everything worth knowing about the most warm-hearted fish who ever grew a pair of legs. Let's start at the very beginning. Section 1. The name, the origins, the bowl. Fact number 1. Darwin's full legal name is Darwin Raglan Caspian Ahab Poseidon Nicodemus Watterson III. That name is revealed in its entirety during the 5th season episode called The Party, and it is, without question, one of the longest names belonging to any character in the entire show. Count those names out. There are 7 of them before you even reach the family name and the Roman numeral, which for the purposes of this script we will call the third, because that's the rule around here. Fact number 2. Each individual name in that sequence carries meaning that layers onto Darwin's character in interesting ways. Darwin, now the most famous of the names, is a direct nod to Charles Darwin, the 19th century naturalist who gave the world the theory of evolution by natural selection. The show's writers made no secret of this. A fish that grows legs and adapts to life on land is as close to a living cartoon metaphor for Darwinism as animation has ever managed. There is even a symbol, sometimes called the Darwin fish, the classic ichthus or fish outline, but with small legs added beneath it that serves as a kind of secular symbol in the ongoing conversation about science and religion. That image predates the show, but the show absolutely knew what it was doing when it named its walking, talking goldfish after the man who explained why walking, talking things exist at all. Fact number 3. Raglan, the second name, most likely references HMS Raglan, a Royal Navy monitor vessel from the First World War era. Raglan is also the name of a township in New Zealand known for its surfing and for a rare subspecies of dolphin native to its waters. Given that Darwin has demonstrated the ability to use echolocation in the show, that dolphin connection feels less like a coincidence and more like a deliberate piece of hidden world building. Fact number 4. Caspian, his third name, almost certainly nods to the Caspian Sea, which holds the distinction of being the world's largest enclosed body of water. There is something rather fitting about naming a fish after the biggest landlocked sea on the planet, especially a fish who chose land over water. Fact number 5. Ahab is the name most readers of classic American literature will recognize immediately as Captain Ahab, the obsessive, driven protagonist of Herman Melville's Moby Dick, a man consumed by a singular mission that carried him across unthinkable stretches of ocean. Given that Darwin's origin story involves a journey across an entire city that, for his tiny body, might as well have been an ocean, the name lands with quiet weight. Fact number 6. Poseidon, name number 5, is the Greek god of the sea. In Roman mythology, he is known as Neptune. He is also the god of horses in classical mythology, which becomes accidentally funny when you consider that Darwin has been used as a mount by Gumball on more than one occasion throughout the series. Fact number 7. Nicodemus, the sixth name, is drawn from two sources that speak directly to Darwin's character. Nicodemus the Hagiorite was a real saint who lived from 1749 to 1809 and was said to possess a love for all things, a description that maps onto Darwin's seemingly boundless affection for the world and everyone in it with almost unsettling accuracy. The name also appears in the Bible, where Nicodemus was a figure who came to be spiritually reborn. Given Darwin's literal biological transformation from an ordinary fish into something new and unprecedented, the parallel is unmistakable. Fact number 8. The third in his name indicates that there were other Darwins before him. This is confirmed explicitly in the third season episode The Game, where it is revealed that he is the third in a series of goldfish the Wattersons have owned and named Darwin. The previous Darwins did not make it. They died, as pet goldfish tend to do, and were replaced, as pet goldfish tend to be. The fact that our Darwin, the current Darwin, came from a line of departed predecessors gives his existence a particular poignancy when you sit with it. He is not just a fish who became a person. He is the survivor. He is the one that stayed. Fact number 9. The Wattersons actually had more than two fish before acquiring the Darwin we know. Various pieces of information throughout the series suggest that our Darwin was at minimum the eighth goldfish the family had gone through before him. Every previous fish had died, often through accidents involving Richard's well-meaning incompetence. Each time, Richard would mark the occasion by singing "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot" before flushing the deceased fish down the toilet. This happened with enough frequency that it became a dark little running pattern in the family's history. Fact number 10. Darwin was purchased from the Awesome Store, a mysterious van operated by an equally mysterious vendor who seems to traffic in items of unusual narrative significance throughout the series. Other things purchased from this same store include the universal remote that Rob acquires in The Disaster, the game console and How in The Console, and the evil turtle in The Puppy. When Richard bought Darwin from this store, the shopkeeper warned him with the words, "Don't get it wet," and "Don't feed it after midnight." Those are the warnings from the 1984 film Gremlins. The show inserted them there deliberately, and the fact that they are there at all hints that even before Darwin grew legs, the shopkeeper understood that this particular fish was something beyond ordinary. Fact number 11. Darwin was initially purchased as a solution to a practical problem. Young Gumball, then a hyperactive toddler, was so energetic and difficult to manage that Nicole and Richard were at the end of their collective rope. A pet was supposed to give him something to focus on, something that would occupy his attention and slow him down. Nicole wanted a pet. Richard, in an early glimpse of his particular brand of creative problem-solving, considered a different solution entirely before settling on the goldfish. The fish worked. Gumball became attached almost immediately. Fact number 12. Darwin's name didn't start as Darwin. Before Richard settled on the name, the Wattersons had gone through several replacement fish, each named Darwin after the previous one died. By the time our Darwin arrived, the name had simply become the name that fish in that bowl got called, regardless of which fish was currently occupying it. Our Darwin inherited the name the way you might inherit a well-worn piece of clothing from someone else. It fit him. And then, somewhere along the way, it became entirely and irreversibly his. Fact number 13. Darwin came from a very specific litter, purchased at the same shop from which other significant items in the show's mythology were obtained. The show's writers built this detail in deliberately and with care, suggesting that Darwin's arrival in the Watterson household was not entirely the product of random chance. He was, in some sense, always going to end up there. Fact number 14. But before Darwin was the character we know from the show, he existed as a design created by Ben Bocquelet for a completely different project, an unproduced show about mythical animals hiding in a child's backyard. When that project fell apart and never got made, Bocquelet found himself with a character design he genuinely liked and didn't want to abandon. He folded Darwin into the world that would become the amazing world of Gumball, giving the rejected character a home. Darwin is, in a deep and literal sense, a rescued design. He was created for a story that never happened, and then found his real story instead. Fact number 15. Ben Bockelay has confirmed in interviews that Darwin was also inspired by a real person from his life, a childhood friend named Paul. Paul, according to Bockelay, had a habit of spending more time at the Bockelay household than at his own, becoming such a fixture of the family's daily life that he felt like an additional family member without ever formally being adopted. He was just always there, always present, always folded into the routine of the house. Darwin, Bockelay said, was designed to hold that same kind of position in the Watterson family. He is the person who is so deeply embedded in a family that the question of whether he officially belongs there becomes irrelevant. He belongs there because he is there. He belongs there because they love him. If you're watching this tonight and you've made it this far, drop a comment below. Tell me the time and the place you're watching from. Whether it's midnight in a quiet bedroom or early morning with a cup of something warm, or on a bus going somewhere, wherever you are, I want to know. And if you're new here and this is the kind of deep, slow, thoughtful content you're looking for, consider subscribing to Watterson Lore. It helps more than you know, and it means we get to keep doing this. Section 2. The body, the biology, the physics of being. Darwin. Fact number 16. Darwin is a goldfish. Specifically based on the visual design of his predecessors shown in the origins, the fish preceding him were of a species known as ryukin, a variety of fancy goldfish distinguished by a high-arched back and a flowing double tail. Our Darwin, once he has evolved and acquired his characteristic form, retains some of these features while developing in directions that no goldfish has ever developed before or since. Fact number 17. Darwin's body is structured in a way that defies easy anatomical explanation. His goldfish-shaped head effectively constitutes his entire torso. His fins have lengthened and reshaped into arms and hands. His tail persists at the back. His legs extend downward from the base of his head body, giving him a silhouette that reads as simultaneously absurd and completely natural within the context of the show. He is a design that should not work aesthetically and absolutely does. Fact number 18. Darwin's legs are notably long relative to the rest of his body, and they end in feet that match the orange coloring and texture of the rest of him. In most episodes, those feet are covered by his green and white sneakers, the pair that Gumball gave him during the events of the origins when he noticed that Darwin's feet were badly hurt from his journey home. Fact number 19. Those green sneakers originally belonged to Gumball. This is one of the most quietly meaningful details in the show's entire run. When Darwin completed his incredible journey back to the Watterson family, he was exhausted and his feet were damaged. Gumball, seeing this, removed his own shoes and gave them to Darwin on the spot. He gave up the shoes off his own feet for a fish who had just crawled across an entire city for him. Darwin has worn variations of those green shoes ever since. Every time you see Darwin in his green sneakers, you are looking at a gift from a 12-year-old cat who loved his fish enough to give away his shoes. Fact number 20. Darwin is the only member of the Watterson family who does not wear pants. This is simply because he has no waist in the conventional sense. The structure of his body doesn't accommodate pants the way a rabbit or a cat's body would. The show acknowledges this in its own way, and on occasions where Darwin's bare lower body becomes relevant, it is sometimes treated with the same visual censorship applied to other anatomically sensitive areas in the show as a recurring gag. Fact number 21. Darwin can breathe both in water and in air. He demonstrated aquatic breathing when Gumball and Darwin found themselves underwater during the pressure, where Darwin was shown holding his breath despite technically being a fish. The reason given, or at least implied, is that he cannot breathe chlorinated water. His biology, having adapted to air-breathing life on land, has apparently become selective about which water it will tolerate. Fact number 22. Darwin can regrow his legs. This is revealed during the third season episode The Kids, where the mechanics of his ability to grow new biological structures is briefly acknowledged. Given that his original legs grew during the journey from the ocean to Elmore as a rapid evolutionary response to necessity, the show suggests his body retains some capacity for that regenerative flexibility. Fact number 23. In the words, it is revealed that Darwin is bald. He has no hair. This is not immediately obvious given his design, but the episode confirms it. Separately, the refund shows that he can grow leg hair. and the voice shows that he can grow scalp hair when the circumstances require it. Now, his body's relationship with hair is therefore entirely situational, which tracks with every other aspect of his biology. Fact number 24. Darwin's eyes have changed shape across the seasons. In the first season, they were more cylindrical, described as rounded cylinders. In the second season, they became slightly rounder. From the third season onward, starting with The Kids, they became fully circular and have remained so ever since. The shift happened in tandem with the same change applied to the rest of the Watterson family's eyes in that same episode, as part of a general visual refresh that accompanied the new voice cast. Fact number 25. Darwin has demonstrated the ability to use echolocation in the manner of dolphins or bats. This detail is not a major plot point, but it is present in the show's lore and connects back to the name raglan, which is associated with a dolphin subspecies. His body contains surprising hidden capacities that emerge when the story needs them. Fact number 26. Darwin can scream at an extremely high pitch. This is established in both the castle and the flakers. The pitch is high enough to shatter every window in a block of houses simultaneously. This is presented comedically, but it is also, if you think about it, a significant sonic ability that most people would consider extraordinary. Fact number 27. Darwin's body was originally going to be rendered in CGI animation rather than the two-dimensional style used for the Wattersons. This was changed early in production because having one of the two main characters animated in a different style from the other created significant logistical and visual challenges that would have slowed down production considerably. The decision to make him 2D was a practical one, but it also contributed enormously to the feeling of the show, because a CGI Darwin would have felt subtly alien from Gumball in a way that would have undermined the closeness of their relationship on screen. Fact number 28. Darwin can speak to non-anthropomorphic animals. This is shown in The Question, The Traitor, and The Origins Part 2. He essentially functions as a bridge between the speaking, social world of Elmore and the quieter animal world that exists beneath it. Fish, birds, other creatures. That they understand Darwin in a way they do not understand the mammalian characters around him. He has one foot in both worlds, which is both a gift and a gentle reminder of how unusual his existence really is. Fact number 29. Darwin is multilingual to a degree that seems inconsistent, but is probably deliberate. In the DVD, he speaks a complex sentence in Cantonese, though the subtitles deflate the moment beautifully by simply translating his long Cantonese speech as no. He also speaks French during The Treasure, though this may have been the product of temporary hypnosis and therefore not necessarily a permanent skill. Later in the others, he speaks Cantonese again, this time to tell a character named Claire that he and Gumball do not speak Cantonese, which he delivers in fluent Cantonese. The contradiction is part of the joke, but the multilingual capacity itself is real. Fact number 30. Darwin has demonstrated a capacity for echolocation, high-frequency screaming, rapid evolution, limb regeneration, air and water breathing, communication with non-speaking animals, and multilingual speech. He can play the ukulele, as shown in the internet. He is described as allergic to feathers, which is an oddly specific vulnerability for a character with so many extraordinary abilities. The world of Elmore giveth, and the world of Elmore taketh away. Section 3. Who Darwin is at his core. Fact number 31. Darwin is, fundamentally, the most genuinely kind character in the amazing world of Gumball. This is not a simple statement. Elmore is full of characters who perform kindness, who wear goodness as a strategic tool, who are pleasant when it serves them. Darwin's kindness is different. It costs him things. It puts him at a disadvantage. It gets him into trouble. And he keeps doing it anyway. The show is aware of this distinction, and it matters. Fact number 32. The specific type of kindness Darwin carries is rooted in empathy. He does not just want to be nice as an abstract value. He feels what other people feel. He is genuinely pained when others are hurting, genuinely delighted when others are happy. This emotional porousness is one of the traits that makes him the most human character in the show, which is ironic given that he is a fish. Fact number 33. Darwin is the moral conscience of the Watterson family. This role is made explicit in the episode The Sidekick, where Gumball refers to Darwin as his guardian, Not his sidekick, not his assistant, his guardian. But the person who stops him from doing the things he knows he shouldn't do. Darwin holds that position with a consistency that occasionally borders on exhausting, but the show treats it with genuine respect. Gumball, for all his chaos, needs someone like Darwin. He knows it. He says so. Fact number 34. Darwin has an extremely strong commitment to honesty that is both one of his greatest virtues and, on certain occasions, his most significant problem. He struggles with white lies. He cannot tell them comfortably. When the situation calls for a small social deception of the kind that smooths over daily life, Darwin often fails at it, either refusing entirely or accidentally blurting out the truth at the worst possible moment. The shell and the gift both show this quality. He simply cannot maintain a false front for very long. Fact number 35. Darwin's honesty became the central crisis of the second season episode, The Words. In that episode, a habit of having an internal voice that never got expressed, of arguing with people in his head and then smiling politely to their faces, began to break down. Encouraged by Gumball to be more direct with people, Darwin overcorrected wildly and began saying every unkind thing he had ever thought about everyone around him, delivered with devastating clarity and no filter whatsoever. He called out Mr. Small's hairy toes. He told classmates uncomfortable truths about themselves. He insulted teachers. He said to Gumball, with clinical precision, exactly what was wrong with Gumball's head. It took a fighting game-style verbal battle between the two brothers for the episode to reach equilibrium, during which Gumball's ultimate weapon was to tell Darwin, "You are not my brother. You are just a fish." The fact that this is what hurt Darwin most says everything about where Darwin locates his identity. Fact number 36. Darwin has deep autophobia, a fear of being alone. This is established in the course of several episodes and mentioned explicitly in the show's lore around his character. The fear is not just social preference. It is something that lives at the level of anxiety in him, a dread of the particular emptiness that comes with having no one there. Given where he came from, given that his entire self-transformation was triggered by the prospect of never finding his way back to the people he loved, this fear makes complete psychological sense. Fact number 37. Darwin also has some hynophobia, which is the technical name for a fear of Halloween specifically. This is established in the Halloween episode and treated as a genuine phobia rather than a comedic quirk. The specific pairing of autophobia and saminophobia is interesting. Halloween is, at its core, a holiday built around death, darkness, and things that go unseen. Darwin, who is afraid of being alone, is also afraid of a holiday that celebrates those forces. There is a certain internal logic to that. Fact number 38. Darwin falls in love very easily and very completely. The show establishes early in its run that he has a tendency to become deeply romantically attached to people he has barely met, and that his romantic feelings, once they arrive at full intensity with very little buildup in the dress, and he fell completely and unreservedly in love with who he believed was a beautiful girl, who turned out to be Gumball in a dress. When the dress later fell off onto a fire hydrant, Darwin transferred his affections to the fire hydrant. The show plays this as broad comedy, but it also establishes something real about Darwin's emotional architecture. He loves readily and with his whole self, in ways that are not always connected to the object of that love, as much as they are connected to Darwin's own capacity for loving. Fact number 39. Before Carrie, Darwin had several romantic encounters that the show treats with varying levels of tenderness and humor. In the first season, Masumi briefly claimed Darwin as her boyfriend as a social maneuver, not out of genuine feeling. In the party, Rachel kissed Darwin as a thank you for helping her, and Darwin appeared to enjoy this quite a bit. Neither of these were full relationships. They were moments, early chapters in a character, still figuring out what love actually looks and feels like for him. Fact number 40. Darwin's innocence and naivety are genuine rather than performed. He genuinely does not know certain things that most people, even most children, would know. In the pressure, he did not understand what a girlfriend was. He believed for an extended period, revealed in the recipe, that people were born in cabbage patches. It took him 5 years, according to the bet, just to learn how to recognize facial expressions, and he still gets some of them wrong. His naivety is not stupidity, it is inexperience. That he came into the world as a new kind of being, and he is learning it as he goes, with the genuine openness and occasional bewilderment of someone who arrived without a manual. Fact number 41. Darwin's gratitude is one of the most consistent things about him. He is genuinely, visibly, non-performatively grateful for the life he has and for the people who share it with him. This shows up most clearly in the episode The Night, which follows various Elmore residents through their nighttime hours. Darwin, at night, is shown simply being happy with his life as it is. Not wishing for anything, not worried, just grateful. In a show full of characters with enormous wants and complicated discontents, Darwin at night is, most of the time, just okay. Fact number 42. Darwin has what might be called a warrior's heart underneath his gentleness. He is not confrontational. He would prefer not to fight. He describes himself as a pacifist on more than one occasion. But when things cross a certain line, when someone he loves is in danger, or when something genuinely wrong is happening, Darwin does not hesitate. He is not a pushover. He is a gentle person who has chosen gentleness, which is a very different thing from someone who is gentle because they don't know how to be anything else. Fact number 43. Darwin's creativity expresses itself inconsistently throughout the show, which is itself a kind of authentic detail. In the dress, he draws Gumball with striking accuracy and skill. In The Mustache and the Procrastinators, his drawings are barely distinguishable from the scrawlings of a very young child. While in the Darwin's yearbook episode specifically titled Carrie, he admits outright that he cannot draw at all. His talent apparently comes and goes. This is not a continuity error so much as an honest depiction of someone whose abilities are still developing and are tied in part to his emotional state and level of focus. Fact number 44. Darwin loves music. He plays the ukulele with genuine skill, as demonstrated in the internet. He has participated in a significant number of the show's musical moments across its run, contributing his voice and presence to sequences that required a real emotional grounding to land properly. His musicality is one of the ways the show expresses the part of him that cannot be contained in the ordinary business of school and family life. Fact number 45. Darwin's relationship with his own fish identity is complicated and layered. He is a fish. He is also, indisputably, a person. The show rarely lets him settle too comfortably in either category. He is sometimes reminded of his fish nature by others, sometimes surprised by the fish instincts that surface unexpectedly. In The Responsible, he was distracted by fish food flakes drifting through the air and began eating them almost reflexively, a fish brain hijacking a person brain for a moment. These moments are played with humor, but they also speak to the genuinely hybrid nature of what Darwin is. He is not fully either thing. He is something new. Section 4. Darwin and Gumball, the bond that built a world. Fact. Number 46. Darwin and Gumball's relationship is the emotional spine of the entire show. Everything else in the show, every other relationship, every subplot, every recurring joke, every dark moment, and every warm one radiates outward from the central fact of these two characters and how much they mean to each other. The show understands this. It builds toward it constantly. Fact number 47. The mythology of their relationship goes back to before Darwin could walk. The Origins establishes that Gumball's love for his goldfish was so complete, so unconditional, and so irrationally persistent that it somehow caused Darwin to grow a heart and lungs. The show frames this as a supernatural consequence of emotional connection. Gumball believed so hard that Darwin would come back that the universe rearranged Darwin's biology to make it possible. Whether or not you interpret that literally or metaphorically, the principle holds. Darwin exists the way he does because someone loved him that much. Fact number 48. Gumball grew legs because Gumball said something. This is one of the show's most beautiful hidden details. While Darwin was collapsed and exhausted somewhere on the road between the ocean and Elmore, Gumball, at home, said out loud that if he were with Darwin, he would kick him in the butt to keep him going. That's the kind of thing Gumball would say. That's the specific texture of Gumball's love, brash and physical, and dressed up in roughness to hide the tenderness. And in that moment, Darwin, miles away, grew legs and feet. The show draws a direct causal line between those two things. Gumball's unsentimental, ridiculous, heartfelt expression of love became Darwin's legs. Every step Darwin has taken since then is, in a real sense, built on Gumball. Fact number 49. Gumball considers himself Darwin's guardian in a different but complementary sense to the one discussed earlier. Gumball believes he protects Darwin. Darwin believes he protects Gumball. Both of them are right. The protection flows in both directions, and the show keeps this balance carefully. Neither of them is purely the leader or purely the follower. They are partners in the truest sense, each filling gaps in the other that they probably don't even fully recognize. Fact number 50. The two of them attend the same grade at Elmore Junior High, which is worth pausing on. Darwin is officially younger than Gumball in terms of the narrative, but they exist in the same classroom, sit near each other, take the same classes, navigate the same social world. The age gap that should matter doesn't. They are peers. The show made them peers. That was a choice. Fact number 51. Darwin's jealousy when Gumball began dating Penny is one of the most uncomfortable things the show ever did with his character, and most fans recognize this. In the episode The Bros, Darwin actively tried to sabotage Gumball and Penny's relationship out of fear of being replaced, bullying Penny throughout the episode with a meanness that sat poorly against everything else Darwin stands for. The episode resolves without Darwin facing real consequences for this, which is one of its weaknesses. But the feeling the episode depicts is real. Darwin was terrified of losing the person his entire life was built around. The show captured that terror accurately, even if it handled the ethics around it imperfectly. Fact number 52. But the flip side of that story is that Gumball has always been entirely supportive of Darwin and Carrie's relationship. He was the one who initially, if accidentally, set them on the path toward each other. He was genuinely happy for them when they got together. He cheered for Darwin the way you cheer for someone you love. The asymmetry is real, and the show acknowledges it, but it also shows growth. By later seasons, Darwin's jealousy about Penny has faded, and the friendship between Darwin and Penny has developed into something warm and uncomplicated. Fact number 53. Darwin and Gumball share a bedroom. They sleep in a bunk bed, with Gumball on the top bunk and Darwin on the lower. Before Darwin arrived and before Aeneas was born, Gumball had that room and its single bed entirely to himself. He gave up space for Darwin. He made room. Again, physically and literally, in the small real world of their house, Darwin's arrival required Gumball to share what was his. And Gumball did it, without fuss. Fact number 54. There are moments scattered throughout the series where the show briefly implies that Gumball and Darwin might, in some abstract cosmic way, be able to sense each other across distances. The Origins builds this in at a literal level, the supernatural connection that allowed Darwin's body to respond to Gumball's emotional state from far away. Whether this residual connection persists into the rest of the show's run is left open, but the idea is present. They are, in some way the show does not fully explain, linked. Fact number 55. Darwin rarely argues with Gumball about important things for long. Their fights tend to be sharp and brief. They're resolved through some combination of shared adventure and mutual forgiveness. The show is aware that watching two characters who genuinely love each other be cruel to each other for extended periods is uncomfortable viewing, and it does not linger there. The reconciliations are usually quiet and unsentimental, the way real forgiveness often is. Not a speech, just a return to normal. With the knowledge underneath that normal is where they always end up. Fact number 56. Gumball called Darwin his guardian in the sidekick, and that word choice was deliberate. Not sidekick, guardian. A sidekick is something you have. A guardian is someone who watches over you. The distinction matters. It means that the relationship between Gumball and Darwin has never been one of a main character and a supporting character in Gumball's own mind. Darwin is the person who makes his life safer. That is a remarkable thing to say about anyone. Fact number 57. Darwin's inability to go to the bathroom without Gumball present is a recurring absurd detail that the show has dropped in across several episodes. It is played purely as comedy and resists over-examination, but it does further reinforce the idea that the two of them are so thoroughly embedded in each other's daily existence that even entirely private moments are somehow shared. Fact number 58. The two of them have been shown playing an online multiplayer game together with Rocky, the school janitor, in the slide. Their gaming friendship with someone significantly older than them speaks to the way Darwin in particular connects with people regardless of age or social category. That he does not sort people into hierarchies. He just likes who he likes and plays with who is fun to play with. Fact number 59. Gumball once said of Darwin that he was like a shark bear gator, a comparison that eventually made it into the song from The Kids. This is an expression of affection that would only make sense between these two particular people. The show has a gift for making love sound ridiculous and mean that's why it actually lands. Fact number 60. There is a recurring visual motif in the show where something goes badly wrong, and the camera finds Gumball and Darwin side by side, looking at whatever disaster they have created or discovered, each with the same expression. This shot pattern, repeated dozens of times across the show's run, carries something quietly profound in it. Whatever happens, they face it together. Now, the facing together part matters more than the disaster part. Section 5, The Family That Made Him Fact. Number 61, Darwin's formal legal status within the Watterson family is more complicated than it appears. Despite being raised as a son and a brother, despite attending school as a student and being folded into every aspect of the family's daily life, Principal Brown reveals in The Genius that Darwin is still legally registered as the family pet. He has never actually been adopted in the technical, legal sense. He is a person who lives as a person, is treated as a person, and loves and is loved as a person. But on paper, he remains property. The show drops this detail like a stone and does not dwell on it. But it is there. Fact number 62. Darwin calls Nicole and Richard Mrs. Mom and Mr. Dad respectively, and the show has never definitively settled on whether this is a form of formal address that reflects genuine emotional distance or simply a charming quirk born from a misunderstanding. In the origins, Richard asked Darwin to call him Dad rather than Mr. Watterson, and Darwin partially understood this, but not completely, landing on Mr. Dad as a compromise. It stuck. It became who he is. The show leaves it ambiguous whether there is an underlying hesitance in those titles, or whether they are simply Darwin's particular way of expressing love. Both interpretations are valid, and neither cancels out the other. Fact number 63. Richard considers Darwin his favorite among the fish the family has owned. This is confirmed in The Goons. Richard's relationship with Darwin has the warmth and messiness of any parent-child relationship. But Richard is not a competent adult in most senses, but he loves his children with a full and uncomplicated heart. Darwin benefits from this. Richard's love for him is real, even when Richard's practical contribution to his well-being is limited by Richard's general inability to do anything useful. Fact number 64. Nicole's relationship with Darwin is one of the deepest and most quietly moving relationships in the show. When Darwin appeared to be considering returning to the wild in the roots, Nicole's reaction was not composed or rational. She fell apart. The prospect of losing Darwin undid her in a way that the show recognized as completely sincere. Nicole Watterson, who can break the sound barrier and generate earthquakes with her fists, was destroyed by the idea that her fish son might leave. She loves him with the fierce, irrational totality that she loves all of her children. Fact number 65. Darwin's relationship with Aeneas is one that the show does not always give enough time to, but when it does, it's compelling. Aeneas is revealed in the roots to actually favor Darwin over Gumball, though she quickly walks this back. The two of them have a relationship defined by mutual intelligence, a shared capacity for reason and thoughtful observation, and a warmth that exists alongside the occasional sibling friction. Of the three Watterson children, Darwin and Aeneas are probably the two most likely to sit quietly and think things through before acting. Fact number 66. Darwin's relationship with Granny Jojo, the Watterson matriarch and Richard's mother, is occasionally shown to involve physical affection that Darwin enjoys. In The Kiss, what he mentions that he likes being kissed on the cheek because it makes him feel special. He does not specify who the kisser is, but the context points to Granny Jojo. This is a detail that speaks to Darwin's openness to affection from all corners of the family, his willingness to receive love and to let it mean something. Fact number 67. Darwin has biological parents somewhere in the world who he has never met. He mentions this on more than one occasion throughout the series. At one point, he produces a treasure chest that he says was left to him by his birth parents. The chest contains only bubbles. The show plays this as both a joke and a quiet acknowledgement of a genuine absence in Darwin's history. He does not know where he came from. He does not know who produced him. He has no biological family story to fall back on. And he has only the family he found, the family that found him, and the love that was built after the beginning. Fact number 68. There is a running joke across several episodes where Darwin attempts to use the fact of his unknown origins as emotional leverage to get something he wants. He has deployed his lack of biological parents as a guilt-tripping tool to varying degrees of success. The show plays this as comedy, but it is also, if you sit with it, a real coping mechanism. You take the thing that could hurt you and you turn it into something you can use. Darwin learned to do this. It is, in its odd way, a form of resilience. Fact number 69. Ben Bockelay and the show's creators have confirmed that they have thought about doing an episode exploring Darwin's biological parents and origins, but have found it difficult to develop in a way that feels right. As of the revival series, this story has not been told. It remains deliberately a blank. Darwin's beginning is unknown. What is known is what came after. Fact number 70. Darwin was given the green shoes by Gumball at the end of the Origins, and this small act of giving contains the entire shape of their relationship. Gumball did not give Darwin a grand gesture. He gave him something practical and personal, something from his own feet, something that would help Darwin walk. The metaphor could not be more complete if someone had designed it to be one. Gumball gave Darwin the means to keep moving. Darwin has been moving ever since. Section 6. Darwin at School. Darwin with Friends. Fact number 71. Darwin attends Elmore Junior High as a student in Miss Simeon's class, alongside Gumball, Banana Joe, Tobias, Penny, Alan, Carrie, Bobbert, Idaho, Leslie, Carmen, Masami, Tina Rex, and the rest of the school's remarkable ensemble cast. He sits in a classroom designed for bodies very different from his own, and participates in a social world that was also not designed with him in mind. He manages both with his characteristic adaptive warmth. Fact number 72. Darwin has a habit, particularly prominent in the first season, of standing in his seat rather than sitting down. This is a small fish world meets person world detail that faded as the show developed, and Darwin became more naturalized to his environment. Early Darwin stood in his seat. Late Darwin sat. The evolution is a visual record of his ongoing integration. Fact number 73. Darwin's academic standing at the school is interesting to consider. He is not shown to be exceptional in the way Aeneas is exceptional. He is not the smartest student in the class. But he is thoughtful. He engages with ideas. He has demonstrated fluency in multiple languages and an ability to reason through complex situations. His intelligence is different in kind from Aeneas's, and from Gumball's street-smart improvisational cleverness. Darwin thinks with his heart, and that turns out to be useful more often than you'd expect. Fact number 74. Darwin's closest friends beyond the Wattersons include Rocky, the school janitor and aspiring rock musician. Their friendship crosses the obvious age gap without any particular effort. Now, Rocky sees something in Darwin that the show never fully spells out, but shows consistently. He treats Darwin like a genuine peer, not a younger kid he's being nice to. Their gaming sessions and easy rapport are among the show's pleasanter background details. Fact number 75. Darwin's friendship with Banana Joe is the kind of casual, uncomplicated, slightly absurd camaraderie that school life generates. Joe is the class clown. Darwin is the moral backbone. These are not personalities that naturally fit together, and yet their friendship feels real in the way that school friendships often do, born of proximity and repetition rather than deep compatibility. Fact number 76. Darwin and Bober have an interesting dynamic that the show used well in The Bet, where Gumball tried to use Bobbert as a kind of personal robot assistant, and Darwin was the one who called Gumball out for taking advantage of someone who was trying to understand social relationships. Darwin's defense of Bober in that episode is consistent with his broader character. He sees people clearly, and he does not let them be used. Fact number 77. Darwin's relationship with Julius, the show's quiet recurring character who eventually becomes something of a friend, is developed in The Sucker, where Darwin accidentally ends up in detention with Julius and, through a series of misunderstandings, manages to make Julius's life considerably worse than it was before. Darwin is devastated when Julius, in hopelessness, dismisses him. The fact that Darwin would be devastated by being dismissed by someone he barely knew, but was trying to help, is a perfect encapsulation of his emotional makeup. Fact number 78. In The Advice, Darwin finds a student who seems deeply unhappy and dedicates himself to cheering that student up. He does this without being asked, without any particular reward, without any reason except that someone seemed sad and Darwin decided that was sufficient reason to act. The episode is one of his quieter showcases, but one of his most true. Fact number 79. Darwin and Tobias have a friendship that exists within the general warmth of the show's ensemble, but that also captures a particular truth about social dynamics. Tobias desperately wants to be important. Darwin genuinely does not care about importance. That they orbit each other with the comfortable asymmetry of people who need different things from the world, and have found a way to coexist pleasantly anyway. Fact number 80. Darwin's relationship with Sarah, the obsessive fan of the show within a show, is one that the writers handled with genuine care. Sarah can be overbearing. Her investment in Gumball and Darwin's lives is sometimes framed as uncomfortable or excessive. But Darwin characteristically approaches her with kindness and patience that most people in his position would probably not manage. He sees the person underneath the fandom. He tries to make her feel seen in a way that is not condescending. Section 7. Darwin and Carrie, the love story that had to wait fact. Number 81. But Darwin's love story with Carrie Kruger is one of the most patient and genuinely moving romantic arcs in modern animation. It spans multiple seasons without rushing, allows both characters to grow independently before growing together, and reaches its resolution through an act of emotional clarity that is startling in its sincerity. Fact number 82. Carrie Kruger is a ghost. She has been dead for an unspecified length of time that the show has deliberately never specified. And she exists in a state of permanent physical non-contact with the living world. She cannot touch things without effort. She cannot eat food without possessing another person's body first. She will never age, bye-bye. She exists in the present tense of Elmore Junior High as a permanent fixture, while the living people around her move through time and she does not. Fact number 83. Darwin's feelings for Carrie predate the moment they are first shown on screen. In the Halloween episode, the first time Darwin becomes a ghost and enters Carrie's plane of existence, the first thing he does is walk up to her and kiss her. He does this calmly, without hesitation, and tells her it is something he has wanted to do for a long time. This is not the first episode of the show. This is not the introduction of the feeling. He has been carrying this for a while before we see it. How long? The show does not say. Fact number 84. Carrie's response to the kiss in Halloween is a blush. That is all. A ghost blushing. It is a small thing and the show does not amplify it. It lets it exist quietly in the episode and moves on. But the blush is the entire story in compressed form. She felt something. She is not indifferent. Whatever Darwin has been carrying, Carrie has been carrying something in the same direction. Fact number 85. The episode The Scam brings them closer through the particular bonding mechanism of shared mischief. Carrie and Gumball set up an elaborate fake haunting scheme to collect Halloween candy, and Darwin joins against his better judgment, largely because the promise of spending time near Carrie overrides his moral objections. The episode ends with them finding small, quiet reasons to hang out more. The show knows that the build-up is the love story, not the payoff. Fact number 86. The Matchmaker is the episode where everything comes to a head, and it does so through one of the show's most elegantly constructed misdirections. Darwin is sitting at his computer, clearly heartsick, singing a song. The song Without You is a genuine piece of emotional expression and one of the better musical moments in the show's history. Gumball discovers Darwin's feelings by seeing a photo on the screen, misidentifies who the photo is of, and sets in motion a chain of events designed to pair Darwin with the wrong person. Fact number 87. The photo Gumball saw was not of Terry, it was of Carrie. This makes perfect sense within the show's internal logic, because Carrie is a ghost and ghosts do not show up in photographs. The photo Darwin had saved to his computer was of a location or object that Carrie had been near, with no visible Carrie in it. He was looking at a photograph of someone who cannot appear in photographs. Gumball, seeing a photo of what seemed to be Terry in the area, made a reasonable but completely wrong inference. But the entire tragic misfire of the episode flows from this one beautiful technical limitation. Fact number 88. Carrie, asked by Gumball to help pair Darwin with Terry, agreed, despite knowing it would hurt her. She agreed because she wanted Darwin to be happy, even if that happiness was not with her. She then sabotaged the plan repeatedly, subtly, out of a jealousy she could not entirely contain. Both impulses were true at once. She wanted his happiness, and she wanted to prevent it. The episode captures this contradiction without judgment. Fact number 89. The moment the spell breaks is one of the most quietly devastating things the show ever did with these two characters. Carrie begins to cry. Darwin, who is under a love potion aimed at someone else, notices the tear. And the tear, being genuine and being a sign of love, breaks the spell. True feeling undid manufactured feeling. Darwin's real heart, the one that had been pointing at Carrie all along, reasserted itself through her grief. He crossed the room to her. Fact number 90. Gumball encouraged Carrie to ask Darwin out. He saw what was happening, understood it completely, and gave her the push. Gumball, the character who had earlier been the agent of the whole misunderstanding, became the agent of the resolution. He cheered for his brother's happiness with the same wholehearted genuineness that defines his love for Darwin. And they kissed. Darwin and Carrie in The Matchmaker, the end of Season 5, finally kissed. It took years of watching and waiting and hoping, and the show earned it. Fact number 91. While their relationship in later seasons is described by the show as being near perfect in its particular way. Carrie calls Darwin full of the things she loves. Darwin is described as extremely considerate of the specific limitations her ghostly state imposes on her, allowing her to possess his body frequently so she can experience physical sensations and participate in the material world. He gives her his body. He lets her inhabit him so she can taste food and feel texture and be, briefly, inside physical life. This is an act of love so complete and so strange that it resists comparison to anything in ordinary human romantic relationships. Fact number 92. Darwin is never jealous about Carrie's history or about Azrael, a figure from her past who appears in later episodes. But when Gumball becomes paranoid that something concerning is happening between Carrie and Azrael, Darwin is described as completely unbothered. He has a secure enough sense of who he is to Carrie that external doubt does not penetrate. This is a notable evolution from the earlier episodes where his security was less settled. Fact number 93. The long-term implications of Darwin and Carrie's relationship are something the show has always left open and present. Darwin will age. Carrie will not. Darwin will grow into an adult, will eventually grow old. Carrie stopped at whatever age she was when she died, and she will remain there. The love is real, and it is present, and the shadow of the asymmetry is also real and present. The show does not pretend the shadow isn't there. It just doesn't dwell in it. No, because that's not what Elmore does. Fact number 94. Darwin gave Carrie access to physical experience in the world through his body, and this fact recurs throughout their relationship as one of its central gestures. He lets her in. This is not a small thing for someone who has been a ghost for however long she has been a ghost. He made her feel, temporarily, like she was alive again. And she, in turn, gave him a kind of love that was not contingent on what he looked like or what species he was, or whether his biology made sense. They were right for each other in ways that surprised the world around them. Section 8. Darwin's hidden depths, his contradictions, his darker moments. Fact number 95. Darwin is not always the gentle moral compass the show usually positions him as. There are episodes where he demonstrates a capacity for genuine cruelty, for pettiness, for behavior that sits uncomfortably alongside his general character. The show is honest about this. Character is not a fixed point. It is a range, and the show shows the range. Fact number 96. In The Pony, Darwin kicks Rob down a manhole simply because Rob is being annoying, not because Rob poses a threat, not because the situation escalates in a way that requires intervention, just because Rob was irritating and the manhole was there. Darwin kicks Rob into the manhole and the show moves on. It is a moment of casual cruelty from a character usually defined by kindness, and it is unsettling precisely because it is so casual. Fact number 97. In the Society, Darwin discovers an educational safety video. So it has some kind of breakdown in response to it and proceeds to become a tyrant. He uses his position to eliminate every hazard he perceives in Elmore, creating a surveillance state of preventative safety that strips everyone of agency in the name of protection. The episode is comedic, but its underlying premise that Darwin's love can transform into control when it is not self-aware is a real observation about one of his shadows. Fact number 98. The Bros, discussed earlier as one of the show's more uncomfortable uses of Darwin, was not a one-time slip. The show returned to Darwin's possessiveness about Gumball across multiple episodes, acknowledging it as a real and persistent feature of his character. The fear of losing his anchor to the world is so deep in him that it can override his compassion when he is not paying attention. And he knows this. He does not always catch it in time. Fact number 99. In The Banana, a relatively early episode, Darwin is shown to have what one might charitably call an intense side when pushed. His anger, when it fully emerges, is shocking, partly because it is so rarely on display. The show used this for comedy, but it planted the idea that the gentle fish is not the whole fish. Fact number 100. Darwin's relationship with authority is interesting because it is inconsistent in ways that reflect real psychology. He generally respects adults and institutional systems. He believes in the rules. He wants to do the right thing as the rules define it. But he has in various episodes demonstrated a capacity for rule-breaking when he decides that his own moral judgment supersedes the stated rules. Yet he does not announce this or treat it as rebellion. He just does what he thinks is right. The show allows him this without treating it as a contradiction. Fact number 101. Darwin's naivety occasionally tilts into something closer to willful naivety. He sometimes maintains his kind interpretation of people and situations well past the point where the evidence suggests that a different interpretation is warranted. Mrs. Robinson, who is consistently unkind to the Wattersons, is met again and again with Darwin's genuine and unironic warmth. He expects the best from her. The show treats this as both a virtue and a kind of selective blindness that he has chosen because the alternative would require him to be less than he wants to be. Fact number 102. Should the question of whether Darwin's personality is genuinely his own, or whether it is the personality the universe assigned him when it created a sidekick character for Gumball, is something the show gestures toward in its more philosophical moments. Darwin is, as the show's mythology establishes, a character who became a person because the narrative needed him to be a person. His kindness, his loyalty, his optimism, these are exactly the traits a narrative sidekick would be given. The show is aware of this. It does not resolve it. It lets the question breathe. Fact number 103. In The Puppets, the extraordinary crossover episode with Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, Darwin is the one who gets controlled. A puppet takes over his body and tells him that he is not real, that he is just a character in a show. As Darwin's response is pure primal terror. Not philosophical engagement, not argument, terror. Because on some level, the accusation lands. And the part of him that recognizes it is the part that knows. Fact number 104. Darwin has been shown to engage in conflict resolution through talking rather than fighting in the vast majority of his interactions, but he is also not above a scuffle when the situation seems to genuinely warrant one. His physical conflicts in the show are rare enough to be memorable, and they are usually expressions of how far he has been pushed, rather than expressions of a natural inclination toward aggression. Fact number 105. In the words, after Darwin's honesty spiral reaches its peak, he begins singing a song called No More Mr. Nice Guy, in which he imagines himself as a shark. Now, he has something predatory and sharp-edged and free from the obligation to be kind. The song is interrupted before he can finish it. But the fact that this song exists inside him, that there is a voice in Darwin that dreams of being a shark, is one of the show's most honest admissions about its most openly good character. Section 9. Darwin's most important episodes. Fact number 106. The Origins two-parter is the essential Darwin episode. Everything about his character, his capacity for love, his stubborn persistence, his physical courage, his relationship with Gumball is crystallized here. It is the episode that answers the question of how Darwin became Darwin, and the answer it gives is both simple and profound. He became Darwin because he chose to. Because going back to Gumball was the thing he wanted most in the world, and he made himself capable of doing it. Fact number 107. The journey in the Origins Part 2 is genuinely harrowing when you consider the scale of it relative to Darwin's starting size and capabilities. He emerged from the ocean with no lungs, no legs, no ability to survive on land. He had to evolve his own biology in real time to make the journey. He was exhausted, captured, nearly replaced. He reached the mall just in time to see his family choosing a new fish. He left, heartbroken, believing he had lost them. And then Gumball ran after him. Fact number 108. I'm on My Way, the song Darwin sings during his journey, is one of the show's most emotionally effective pieces of music. It begins as a triumphant declaration of movement and purpose and gradually becomes quieter and more desperate as as the song continues, but the energy behind it drains away. The song's arc mirrors Darwin's physical state across the journey. Both begin confidently and reach a point of near collapse before something turns. The music team understood exactly what they were doing. Fact number 109. The Kids is significant for Darwin because it is the episode where the show acknowledged the departure of his first voice actor and built that acknowledgement directly into the story. Darwin and Gumball's voices change in that episode, their voices deepening and breaking, and the show frames this not as a simple physical maturation, but as a confrontation with the fact that nothing stays the same. The boys resist it. They want to stay children. The universe, as represented by their own biology, tells them it is not up to them. But Darwin's response to this is not just fear of growing up. It is the specific fear of a character who understands, somewhere below conscious thought, that change in Elmore is different from change in the outside world. Fact number 110. The Roots is an episode that uses Darwin's relationship with his fish identity to explore questions about belonging and cultural identity with a lightness that does not diminish the real substance underneath. When the Wattersons become convinced Darwin is unhappy because he misses his fish roots, their efforts to connect him with his aquatic culture are well-meaning and deeply misguided. The episode's resolution, in which Darwin admits he was just manipulating them to get a bigger fish tank, is a punchline that also quietly confirms something important. Darwin's roots are not in the ocean. Now, they are in this house. They always were. Fact number 111. The Words gave Darwin an episode entirely shaped around his tendency to absorb other people's unpleasantness without pushing back. His transition into brutal honesty is played for laughs, but the episode's emotional core is a real observation about what happens when people who absorb too much finally overflow. Darwin overflowed. The show let him, and then it asked him to find a middle ground between absorbing everything and saying everything, which is the real challenge the episode puts to him. Fact number 112. The Matchmaker, covered extensively in the romance section, is Darwin's most purely emotional episode, the one where his heart is most openly on display and most at risk. The show took a full season 5 episode and dedicated it to the careful, painstaking, ultimately beautiful resolution of a romantic story that had been building for multiple seasons. It did not rush it. Darwin's love was treated as worth the time. Fact number 113 in the question. an episode in which Gumball and Darwin spend an entire day asking increasingly large philosophical questions about the meaning of life. Darwin's approach to the questions is different from Gumball's. Gumball spirals outward, becoming increasingly frantic, looking for a grand, unified answer. Darwin asks smaller, more grounded questions. He wants to know if he matters. Not in an existential, abstract sense, in a concrete, present tense sense. He wants to know if the things he does and feels and values matter today. The show's answer, delivered through the particular texture of the episode's resolution, is quiet and sufficient. Fact number 114. The burden deals with Darwin's possessiveness and his fear of being lonely with a directness that makes it one of the more psychologically honest episodes of the show's run. It is not a comfortable portrait of Darwin, but it is a truthful one. Characters are allowed to have the specific shape of their fears, even when that shape is not flattering. Fact number 115. Darwin's Yearbook, the miniseries that aired between the original series and the revival, was largely clip show material, but framed around Darwin attempting to compile the school's yearbook and evaluate his classmates. The framing device was significant because it positioned Darwin as the observer, the archivist, the character trying to make sense of and give form to the world around him. He sees the people of Elmore clearly enough to document them. That is a particular kind of intelligence. Section 10. Darwin and the architecture of Elmore's reality. Fact number 116. Darwin exists in a world that has, as the show has established across its run, actual structural rules about relevance and narrative function. Characters in Elmore survive by being interesting enough to matter. The void is real. Cancellation is real. The ground beneath Elmore's reality is less solid than it appears. Fact number 117. Darwin's specific position in this reality is protected, but not in the way most characters' positions are protected. He is not the protagonist, he is not the one the show is named after. He is not the character whose perspective organizes the narrative, but he is the character without whom the protagonist cannot function. He is structural. He is essential in a way that is quieter than the spotlight, but more load-bearing. Fact number 118. The show has occasionally given Darwin brief moments of awareness about the nature of the world he lives in, but has pulled back from the full Rob-style awakening that would make him functionally dangerous in the way Rob became dangerous. Darwin's awareness is partial. He notices things. He feels the wrongness when the signal degrades, when the world does not behave as it should, but he does not follow the thread to its conclusion. The show may be protecting him, keeping him in a kind of innocence that Rob lost and never recovered. Fact number 119. In The Signal, which is one of the show's most genuinely unnerving episodes in terms of its implications about the nature of Elmore, Darwin becomes angry at Gumball for the things the glitching reality causes Gumball to do. Darwin does not realize, for most of the episode, that Gumball is not responsible for his own behavior in those moments. Darwin's frustration with Gumball is real but misplaced. And the episode uses this to explore what happens when Darwin's perceptions are distorted by forces outside his understanding. He is not immune to being wrong about Gumball. He is just usually not wrong in this way. Fact number 120. The show's meta-awareness about Darwin's role is most explicit in the pilot materials and early production notes, which described him as the moral anchor of the series. He was designed, from the beginning, to be the character who prevented the show from going somewhere it shouldn't. Not as a function of being boring or limiting, but as a function of being the character through whom the show expressed its values. He is, at the level of production intent, the conscience of the entire project. Fact number 121. Darwin's evolution from a goldfish into a person is, within the show's own meta-mythology, essentially what the show is about. It is a story about a character who became more than what the story initially needed him to be. He outgrew his origin. He became real. And in Elmore, where the line between fictional and real is the central anxiety of the entire series, becoming real is the most radical thing a character can do. Fact number 122. The show has a quiet theory about Darwin that it never states outright, but that is present in the architecture of his character. That his positivity and his optimism and his relentless goodwill toward the world are not naive defaults. They are chosen. They are chosen again and again by a character who has access to the darker knowledge his situation would generate and who decides, repeatedly, to proceed with warmth anyway. That choice is what makes him extraordinary. Fact number 123. Darwin's biological parents remain unknown to him and to us. This blank is deliberate. The show has considered filling it in, but has not done so. The creators have found it difficult to write in a way that feels right. What that means, reading between the lines, is that Darwin's story is not a story about where he came from. It was never that story. It is a story about where he went and who was waiting there. Fact number 124. Within the show's established rules about what the void is and how it operates, Darwin would be considered an essential character. He has narrative function. He has relationship and emotional weight. He is not the kind of character the void would come for. And yet the fact that he exists at all is a function of love that overrode the universe's initial assessment of him as simply a fish. He survived the original void judgment because Gumball refused to let him go. He has been surviving it ever since in the same way. Fact number 124.1. The Grand Unified Theory of Elmore. That the idea that every character's behavior is in some way shaped by the unconscious understanding that they need to remain interesting and useful to survive applies to Darwin in a unique way. Most characters perform their roles because the alternative is the void. Darwin performs no role in the theatrical sense. He simply is what he is, consistently and without strategy. And what he is turns out to be irreplaceable. His survival in Elmore's meta-reality is not the result of calculated entertainment value. It is the result of being genuinely needed. He is the character without whom the central relationship of the show does not function. The void cannot take him because Gumball would not survive it. Fact number 124.2. In The Signal, when reality begins to glitch and the fabric of Elmore stutters and skips, Darwin's first response is not existential panic. It is interpersonal frustration. He is angry at Gumball for what the glitching causes Gumball to do. This is exactly in character. Darwin's relationship with reality, even when reality is visibly malfunctioning, is mediated through his relationships with the people in it. The world could be ending, and Darwin would be trying to work out what is going on between him and Gumball. The personal is always primary for him. The cosmic is always downstream. Fact number 124.3. If you accept the show's meta-logic that Elmore exists as a TV show within a TV show, and that the characters are sustained by being watched, then Darwin represents something quietly extraordinary in this framework. He is not the character people watch for. He is not the spectacle. That he is the reason the spectacle matters. He is the character who makes Gumball's chaos worth caring about. Without him, Gumball's adventures would be entertaining, but hollow. With him, they carry weight. He is the anchor, and anchors do not attract attention, but you feel immediately when they are gone. Fact number 124.4. Darwin has been in the void only briefly and without full awareness of what he was experiencing. Rob, who understood the void completely and was changed by it, carries a weight that Darwin does not. Darwin's relative lightness, his ability to engage with the present moment without the full burden of meta-awareness, might be the thing that protects him. Or it might be that the universe is simply not ready to test him that way. Either interpretation is available within the show's logic. Neither closes off the other. Section 11. Behind the voice, behind the character, the legacy. Fact number 125. Darwin has been voiced by 5 different actors across the show's history, more than any other major character in the series. Each transition happened for the same reason. The previous actor's voice changed due to the natural process of growing up, making it impossible to maintain the young, specific vocal quality the character requires. Fact number 126. In the very earliest materials, including a pilot or early test reel predating the show's broadcast premiere, Darwin was voiced by Jake Pratt. This version of the character is rarely discussed because it existed so briefly and in material that was not widely distributed, but it represents the starting point of the voice history. Fact number 127. Kwesi Boaki was the first series voice of Darwin, carrying the character from the show's premiere in 2011 through the first 2 seasons, and into the beginning of the third. Boki was born on April 6, 1999, in Los Angeles, California, and is of Ghanaian descent. He is the youngest of three brothers who have all pursued acting careers. He was a working actor from an extremely young age, having appeared in commercials from infancy and professional television roles from age 6. Fact number 128. Kwesi Boki's background before Darwin included appearances in multiple television series, including Days of Our Lives, a role as Jamie Thoreau, the son of Andre Braugher's character in Men of a Certain Age, and a voice role as Gossamer in the Looney Tunes show. While he was also in Tyler Perry's film I Can Do Bad All by Myself alongside Taraji P. Henson and Mary J. Blige, playing a character named Manny. His career before Darwin was already substantial. Fact number 129. Kwesi Boaki was replaced during the third season when his voice changed due to puberty, making it impossible for him to continue in the role. This change was handled in a way that has become legendary in animation history. Rather than simply swapping voices between episodes and hoping viewers would not notice or would not care, the writers built the voice change directly into the show as a story. The episode The Kids was written specifically to acknowledge and dramatize the fact that Gumball and Darwin's voices were changing. The show made its production necessity into its narrative. Fact number 130. The Kids is, among other things, an episode about not being ready to grow up. Gumball and Darwin, confronted with the physical evidence that they are changing, try to resist it. A doctor tells them that voice breaking means growth, means becoming something new. They don't want to be something new. They want to stay exactly what they are. The episode does not resolve this desire with a victory for the boys. It resolves it with a song about the joys of being a kid, performed in the broken, alternating registers of two boys whose voices are halfway between who they were and who they are becoming. The song is melancholy and funny and completely right. Fact number 131. Terrell Ransom Jr. took over the role of Darwin for seasons 3 through the 11th episode of season 5. He was born on July 5, 2003 in Royal Oak, Michigan. He showed interest in performance as a very young child, drawn to it in part by watching Disney Channel series. He relocated to California to pursue acting and had accumulated a substantial list of commercial and television credits before landing Darwin. Fact number 132. Doniel T. Hansley Jr. succeeded Terrell Ransom Jr. as Darwin's voice from Season 5, Episode 11 through to the beginning of Season 6. He voiced Darwin through the back half of Season 5, including the critical episode The Matchmaker, in which Darwin and Carrie finally got together. The song Without You that opens that episode is his work, and many fans consider his vocal performance in that song to be one of the best musical moments in the character's history. Fact number 133. Christian J. Simon took over the role of Darwin from The Anybody in Season 5 through to The Inquisition, the finale of the original run. He also voiced Darwin in the Interquel miniseries, Darwin's Yearbook, and in the Gumball Chronicles. Simon carried the character through the end of the original series, including the finale that left Elmore on the edge of the void and left fans without resolution for years. Fact number 134. In the wonderfully weird world of Gumball, the revival series that premiered in 2025, Darwin is now voiced by Hero Hunter. Hunter has spoken about growing up watching the show, having been introduced to it by his sister, and finding it completely captivating. He has described the experience of being cast as a kind of pinch-yourself moment, an arrival at something that felt personally significant. He is the 6th voice actor to hold the role. Fact number 135, the number of voice actors Darwin has had, 5 or 6 depending on how you count the early pilot material, is not a record in animation, but it is notable. It is a consequence of the show's commitment to using young voices for young characters, and of those young voices doing what young voices do, growing up. Darwin's voice history is a kind of timeline of the show's own life. Each voice is a chapter. Each transition is a new beginning. Fact number 136. Ben Bockley has stated in an interview that Darwin is his favorite character in the show, if forced to choose. He qualified this with, if it's a Sophie's Choice kind of situation, implying that the choice is genuinely painful. But Darwin is the one he named. Given that Darwin was inspired by his real friend Paul, Given that Darwin was a character design he rescued from an unrealized project, given that Darwin's role in the show reflects something deeply personal about how Barclay thinks about friendship and belonging, this preference is not surprising. It feels like the only possible answer. Fact number 137. The show originally introduced Darwin's character design for a completely different concept. The unused show was about mythical creatures hiding in a child's backyard. What kind of mythical creature Darwin would have been in that context is not known. He ended up in Elmore instead. The mythological angle is still there if you look for it. A fish that grows legs and speaks and loves is, in any reasonable definition of the term, a mythological creature. Fact number 138. The Amazing World of Gumball premiered on Cartoon Network on May 9, 2011, with the episodes The Responsible and the DVD. Darwin was present from the very first episode because Darwin is always present from the very first episode. He could not be there. Fact number 139. The show ran for 6 original seasons and ended in 2019 with The Inquisition, a finale that left things deeply unresolved. Darwin's last appearance in the original run was at the edge of the void's destruction, standing in a world that was ending, in a reality that the one character who understood it could not save. The image is stark. The revival has since continued the story, and Darwin continues in it, but that final image of the original run is part of his history too. Fact number 140. The revival series, The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball, premiered in 2025. It picks up the story with Darwin and the rest of the Wattersons intact and navigating the ongoing presence of the Void's threat, now managed in part by Rob, who has become a guardian rather than an antagonist. Darwin in the revival is the same Darwin. The fundamental character has not shifted. He is still Gumball's best friend and adopted brother. He is still the warmest thing in the room. Section 12. Small details, hidden facts, and the quiet things. Fact number 141. Darwin calls Richard Mr. Dad and Nicole Mrs. Mom, and has done so for essentially the entire run of the show. It started as a partial misunderstanding of Richard's instruction to call him Dad and became irreversible. Both Richard and Nicole have long since accepted these titles as simply the names Darwin uses for them. The show stopped treating them as unusual somewhere around the second season. They are now just true. Fact number 142. Despite being legally still registered as a pet rather than a child, Darwin has his own room space, his own school enrollment, his own friendships, and his own romantic relationship. The gap between his legal status and his lived reality is wide enough to be invisible in daily life and impossible to ignore in principle. Elmore's administrative systems and Darwin's actual existence are simply not in dialogue with each other. Fact number 143. Darwin is allergic to feathers. This is one of the more specific and surprising facts about his biology, given how much of his character is defined by adaptability. He survived the ocean, he survived a cross-city journey, he survived multiple apocalyptic events and existential threats. But feathers will get him. Fact number 144. Darwin has demonstrated limited shape-shifting abilities in a few episodes, most notably in the Origins Part 2, where he changed his appearance to mimic others as a communication tool during the journey. In The Kids, there is a moment where Gumball and Darwin briefly appear to look like Richard, and in the finale, they appear temporarily older. These are small moments, but they suggest his body retains some of the plastic evolutionary flexibility that allowed his original transformation. Fact number 145. Darwin's birthday, according to at least one piece of fan-compiled information drawing from the show's materials, is September 18th. This is not definitively confirmed in a clear canonical episode, but it has circulated enough in the show's community to be treated as general knowledge. Fact number 146. Darwin has shown on multiple occasions that he retains some fish instincts that surface involuntarily. Fish food, swimming behavior, the particular interest in the natural aquatic world, these things sometimes bypass his person consciousness and operate at a more instinctual level. The show uses these moments to remind viewers that Darwin is genuinely both things, and that the fish part of him has not been erased by the person part. They coexist in him, imperfectly and authentically. Fact number 147. Darwin's shoes were a specific and intentional choice in the character design. He wears sneakers while the rest of his body is bare. The particular shade of green was established during the design process and has been consistent across the show's run. The shoes are, as established, Gumball's original pair, given to him at the end of the Origins. They are a permanent piece of his design that carries the story of his arrival. Fact number 148. Darwin has been censored more than once during the show's run, in ways that acknowledge his bare lower body. In The Puppets, the gumball specifically reacts with embarrassment at the sight of Darwin's feet, which the show frames as analogous to nudity in some sense. The joke is gentle, but it is also a reminder that Darwin's body occupies an unusual category in the social space of Elmore. He is consistently between categories. Fact number 149. Darwin was used in a commercial segment within the show itself during The Money, when the Wattersons' financial crisis began to affect Elmore's reality, and the show started including product placements. Darwin's contribution to the commercial was what the show described as a spontaneous, stereotypical hip-hop performance, which stood in visible contrast to the way the rest of the family was presented. The show acknowledged, through this moment, that Darwin's racial coding within the show was real and was being used in a way worth noticing. Fact number 150. The show has been recognized on multiple platforms, including Cartoon Network's own social media, as having made Darwin's character a meaningful representation of Black identity and experience. He has been included in Cartoon Network's Black History Month celebrations, in Juneteenth content, and in Kwanzaa posts. The show itself includes multiple moments, such as the Heart episode, where Mr. Robinson's comment that Darwin speaks English very well lands as a deliberate microaggression reference. Darwin carries these dimensions without the show reducing him to them, which is the correct balance. Fact number 150.1. One of the quieter and more affecting things about Darwin's representation is how the show threads it through the texture of ordinary life, rather than building episodes around it explicitly. The microaggression in the Heart lands because it is not the point of the scene. It is a detail, a throwaway. The kind of thing that happens in real daily life dropped into an episode as a background beat that certain viewers will catch and others will miss. The show trusted its audience to notice without needing to be told that what they just heard was wrong. Fact number 150.2. Darwin's participation in the joyful burger commercial during The Money is a moment the show constructed with particular awareness of how Black characters are stereotyped in advertising. While the rest of the Watterson family was positioned as the nuclear average family of commercial mythology, Darwin was placed in what the show itself described as a spontaneous hip-hop performance that reads as a stereotype. The show includes this not to reproduce the stereotype uncritically, but to hold it up for examination. Darwin is always more than what the commercial tried to make him. The show knows this. It is counting on you to know this too. Fact number 150.3. The episode The Roots, as mentioned earlier in the context of Darwin's identity, contains a scene where the Wattersons attempt to speak to Darwin using what they consider fish language, deploying fish puns with the sincere but entirely misguided belief that this will help him feel more at home. Their affection is genuine, while their execution is embarrassing. The scene works as comedy, but it also works as a precise depiction of the specific awkwardness of a family trying to connect with a different-looking member through their limited and somewhat patronizing idea of what that member's culture consists of. Darwin is appalled and loving about it simultaneously. That is the exact right response. Section 13. Darwin's Songs, Darwin's Music Fact. Number 151. I'm on My Way is the Darwin song. It is the song the show wrote to carry the most emotionally loaded passage of his origin story, and it delivers on that assignment completely. It begins with a simple melody and a sense of forward movement, the feeling of a character who has made a decision and is acting on it. As the song continues through the valleys and deserts and hardships of the journey, it begins to strain. The melody persists, but the voice behind it tires. By the time the song approaches its end, It is quieter and more desperate. The determination's still there, but the energy behind it depleted. Then something turns. He keeps going. The song keeps going. It does not end with a grand moment. It ends with arrival. Just arrival. Which is exactly the right ending. Fact number 152. Without You, the song Darwin sings at the opening of The Matchmaker, is the other essential Darwin song. It is performed by Doniel T. Hansley Jr., and it functions as a pure emotional statement. Darwin, alone in his room, in front of a computer, experiencing heartbreak he has not shared with anyone, now singing about what it is like to want someone who does not know you want them. The song is not complicated. It is honest. It lands. Fact number 153. Darwin participated in the enormous musical number from The Kids, performing alongside the new voice alongside Gumball in a song about childhood and the unwillingness to leave it behind. The song's lyrics include a laundry list of impossible childhood adventures, ninjas and space pirates, and underwater castles and seahorses made of crystal, delivered in the enthusiastic, slightly cracking register of two kids who know they are losing something and are trying to hold on to it through sheer exuberance. Fact number 154. Darwin and Gumball's singing partnership is one of the show's persistent musical pleasures. They are not always technically precise. They are always emotionally present. The moments when the show built a musical sequence around both of them tended to be among the more memorable musical moments in the series because their voices had a specific quality together that neither had alone. Fact number 155. Darwin plays the ukulele as established in the internet. The ukulele is a small instrument, an instrument of intimacy and portability, the kind of thing you play because you love playing it, rather than because you intend to perform for anyone. It suits him. He is the kind of person who would pick up a ukulele and just play it in his room because it makes him happy. Section 14. Darwin in the world, Darwin in the community. Fact number 156. Darwin Watterson has had a significant cultural presence beyond the show itself. Fan communities around the amazing world of Gumball have tended to treat Darwin with particular affection, recognizing in his character a combination of qualities that are rare in animated supporting characters: genuine goodness that is not simple, genuine warmth that is not naive, genuine kindness that costs something. Fact number 157. The Carrie and Darwin relationship became one of the more passionately discussed relationships in the show's fan community, building a dedicated following across multiple platforms. Fan art of the two of them together has been consistently among the most prolific Gumball fan content produced across the show's entire run. Ben Bacalé himself cited this fan engagement as part of the reason for including more Carrie and Darwin content in the revival. Fact number 158. Darwin's design has been recognized as one of the more elegant solutions in the show's mixed media character roster. He is 2D like the core Watterson family. He is orange in a palette of blue and pink and gray. And he is structurally simple in a way that makes him instantly readable while being visually unusual enough to be memorable. He is a goldfish with legs. You can describe him in 5 words. You remember him forever. Fact number 159. The original character design for Darwin included a CGI element that was eventually abandoned. Producers felt that rendering one of the show's central characters in a different medium from the other central character would create a visual distance between them that would subtly affect the emotional texture of their scenes together. The decision to make him 2D was, in retrospect, clearly the right one. The warmth between Gumball and Darwin reads on screen in part because they are drawn from the same visual world. Fact number 160. Darwin's reception among children who watch the show as its intended audience during its original run tends to be distinct from his reception among older viewers engaging with the show retrospectively. For children who watched it, Darwin was often the character they felt the most comfortable with. He was the safe one, the reassuring one, the one who felt most like a friend. For older viewers, he is often the character they find themselves thinking about in terms of the show's deeper themes. Section 15. Quiet facts, gentle details, the long end of the night. Fact number 161. That Darwin has always taken care of Gumball. Not in the dramatic crisis intervention sense, though he does that too. in the small sense, in the sense of remembering things Gumball forgot, of being there when Gumball has completely and utterly failed at whatever he was attempting, of sitting beside him in the aftermath of disasters without judgment. He takes care of Gumball the way someone takes care of someone they genuinely love, which is mostly through presence. Fact number 162. The relationship between Darwin and Rocky, the school janitor who is also an aspiring rock musician and the son of the Robinsons, is one of the show's quieter pleasures. Rocky and Darwin are approximately 10 years apart in age and relate to each other as genuine peers. They play online games together. They talk. But Rocky sees Darwin as a real person in a way that some of the adults in Elmore do not, and Darwin returns this with the warmth he extends to everyone he likes. Fact number 163. Darwin's fear of Halloween, his Samhainophobia, is specific in a way that the show has never fully explored, but that suggests a history. Fear of Halloween is not a default setting. Something about the specific combination of darkness, performance, disguise, and death imagery that Halloween represents triggers something real in Darwin. The show did not follow this thread far, but it is there. Fact number 164. Darwin has demonstrated the ability to communicate with the evil turtle, the creature the Wattersons briefly had as a pet in The Puppy. But the evil turtle is genuinely dangerous and generally communicates with other characters through implied threat and physical aggression. Darwin's capacity to exchange something with it, however briefly, speaks to his connection with the non-speaking animal world that sits beneath Elmore's anthropomorphized surface. Fact number 165. Darwin's optimism, as mentioned earlier, is chosen. But it is also infectious. The show repeatedly shows characters who are resistant to hope, who are armored against it, who have decided that the world does not deserve their optimism, softening when they spend time with Darwin. He does not argue them into warmth. He just carries warmth so openly that it becomes difficult not to absorb some of it. Fact number 166. In the Darwin's Yearbook miniseries, Darwin's editorial voice as he narrates descriptions of his classmates for the yearbook is revealing. He is generous about everyone. He does not find it difficult to identify something worth celebrating in each person. This is not performed kindness. He genuinely sees something good in everyone he looks at long enough. The yearbook becomes, inadvertently, a document of Darwin's worldview. Fact number 167. Darwin's trust in Gumball, even when Gumball has done something to undermine that trust, is relatively quick to rebuild. He gets hurt. He expresses the hurt. He processes it. And then, usually, he comes back. This pattern of hurt and return is not naive. It is a choice made with the full knowledge of who Gumball is and what Gumball sometimes does. Darwin has chosen to love someone who is occasionally a handful. Now he has decided the handful is worth it. Fact number 168. Darwin has, on at least one occasion, been mistaken for a different species by characters who do not know what he is. This is played for humor, but it also reflects the genuine novelty of what Darwin represents. He is a fish with legs. There is no category for him. People reaching for a label often get it wrong. Fact number 169. Darwin's preferred food includes Mexican food. He loves burritos. This is one of the more specific food preference details the show includes for him, and it is the kind of detail that makes a character feel real in ways that do not require narrative justification. Fact number 170. Darwin and Gumball both fell asleep in the car at the end of the Origins, curled up together in the back seat after everything, after the separation and the journey and the reunion. The show ends on this image. Two kids who found their way back to each other, asleep, done. The most quiet ending you could imagine for an episode that had covered so much emotional ground. The show knew what it was doing. Fact number 171. Darwin has been shown playing video games with Gumball on multiple occasions throughout the series, and these scenes have a particular quality of just being together that is different from the adventure-driven scenes. They are not doing anything important. They are sitting next to each other playing games. The show included these moments because the show understood that the mundane intimacy of doing nothing important together is itself a kind of love. Fact number 172. Darwin's emotional availability is something that the show consistently contrasts with the more guarded emotional styles of other characters around him. Nicole is armored. Richard is affectionate but unfocused. Gumball performs his emotions through chaos. Darwin just feels what he feels and shows it. This is unusual in Elmore. It is unusual in most places. The show treats it as a quality rather than a weakness. Fact number 173. Darwin has been shown to enjoy reading, or at least to engage seriously with books and educational material when the situation presents itself. His intellectual curiosity is not the directed, focused intelligence Anais has, but it is real. He is interested in things. He asks questions. He wants to understand. Fact number 174. Darwin's cheerfulness is not uniform. There are episodes and moments where he is melancholy, anxious, frustrated, or sad. The show allows him these states without treating them as incongruities. He is not required to be happy all the time. His default is toward warmth and positivity, but the default is not a ceiling. Fact number 175, the scene at the end of The Matchmaker, where Darwin and Carrie kiss for the first time, is framed with Gumball watching from a short distance away, smiling. 3 characters in a short moment, and the whole shape of their relationships visible in it. Darwin getting what he wanted. Carrie giving it. Gumball happy that it happened. The geometry of affection in that image is complete. Fact number 176. But Darwin has lived in Elmore for, depending on how you count from the events of the origins, approximately the same amount of time Gumball has been in school. He arrived as an infant, as a fish, before Gumball was old enough to attend Elmore Junior High. He has been in that family through everything. He knows the house, he knows every member of it. He is not a newcomer. He has always been there. Fact number 177. The show has on at least one occasion drawn a parallel between Darwin's adoption and the experience of adopted children in real families, and between his experience as a visibly different member of a family of a different species and the experiences of children adopted transracially. These parallels are implicit rather than stated, but they are real. Darwin is different from his family in visible ways. Now, his family loves him. These two things coexist. Fact number 178, Darwin has a consistent wardrobe of exactly one item, the green sneakers. He has no other clothing. The show has occasionally given him specific costumes for specific occasions, holiday outfits, disguises, and so on. But his default is bare except for the shoes. The shoes are the constant. The shoes are enough. Fact number 179. Darwin's voice history mirrors the show's history in a way that makes each voice actor a chapter in a longer story. Kwesi Boaki is the beginning, the small, clear, original voice. Terrell Ransom Jr. is the middle section, the season that asked the hardest questions and grew the show's ambitions. Danielle T. Hansley Jr. is the season of love and consequence. Christian J. Simon is the end of the original story, carrying Darwin to the edge of the void. Hero Hunter is the revival, the continuation, the proof that the story was not over. Fact number 180. The Amazing World of Gumball was produced by Cartoon Network Development Studio Europe, based in London. The show's backgrounds are often photographs of real London locations, which is why the environments of the fictional American town of Elmore have the specific visual texture of British suburban photography. Darwin, the fish from an imaginary American suburb, walks around in spaces that are secretly London. He has always been, without knowing it, somewhere across the ocean from where he was supposed to be. Fact number 180.1. The visual decision to place 2D animated characters on top of photographic backgrounds was one the show made early and committed to entirely. It was meant to make Elmore feel real, to give viewers, especially younger ones, the sense that they could visit this town. For Darwin specifically, this visual approach does something interesting. He is a completely flat, two-dimensional character moving through photographs of actual physical spaces. He is not in the same plane of reality as the world he walks through. And yet somehow, within the show's visual grammar, he fits. He belongs there. The flat fish belongs in the photographed suburb. This is, if you think about it, a perfect image for who Darwin is. He is from a different origin than everything around him, and he fits anyway. Fact number 180.2. While the mixed media approach of the show applies different visual treatments to different characters based on their narrative distance from the main family. The Wattersons, including Darwin, are 2D. Tina Rex is CGI. The Robinsons are puppet-like. Idaho is claymation. Sussy is live action. Within this hierarchy, Darwin occupies the same visual register as the most central characters. He is drawn from the same cloth as Gumball, the same visual world, the same two-dimensional reality. Whatever his legal status within the Watterson family, within the visual language of the show itself, he is unambiguously one of them. Fact number 180.3. The backgrounds being real London streets creates a specific kind of uncanny value when you know this. The places where Darwin walks to school, the roads where he and Gumball go on their adventures, the environments where Elmore Junior High is embedded, these are real places. There is a particular stretch of suburban London that has, in the architecture of the show, become Darwin's home. He will never know this. It is not information available to him in the world he lives in. But somewhere in London, there are streets that are, in a very specific sense, his neighborhood. Section 16. The last 20 facts. The quietest stretch of night. Fact number 181. Darwin has never given up on anyone in the show. Not in a definitive, permanent way. He has been frustrated with people. He has needed distance from people. But the mechanism of giving up on someone, of deciding they are not worth the effort of caring about, is not something he has. Now, he cannot seem to locate it in himself. Whether this is wisdom or limitation or both is a question the show leaves open. Fact number 182. The name of the miniseries Darwin's Yearbook positioned Darwin as the archivist of Elmore, the one who is responsible for documenting the year and the people in it. This is a role that suits him in a way that the show's regular format never quite captures. He sees people. He remembers them. He knows their names and their stories. He would be very good at a yearbook. Fact number 183. Darwin and Aeneas have a relationship the show underutilizes, but that reads consistently when it does appear. Two children who think before they act, who care about the people around them, who are smarter than the situations they are placed in, but not always smarter than the feelings those situations generate. They understand each other in the specific way that people understand each other when they occupy similar emotional territory. Fact number 184. Darwin has survived the show's various apocalypses, void incursions, reality glitches, zombie joy epidemics, and cascading systemic failures with a consistency that suggests he is either very lucky or structurally necessary. The universe of Elmore appears to need him around. The narrative cannot do without him. Fact number 185. Darwin's friendship with Gumball over the course of the show's run has demonstrated every quality that friendship science and philosophy would identify as the markers of deep, lasting, genuine connection, shared history, mutual care, tolerance of each other's worst moments, joy in each other's best ones, the ability to be honest even when it costs something, the willingness to be changed by knowing the other person. They have all of it. Fact number 186. In the episode The Finale, the show's second season conclusion, the Wattersons are confronted with the accumulated consequences of everything they have done across 2 seasons. Darwin participates in the family's collective reckoning with its own chaos. He does not separate himself from it or claim to have been the responsible one. He was there for all of it. He shares the consequences. He is a Watterson in that moment as fully as he has ever been. Fact number 187. Darwin's transformation, when you describe it plainly, that is one of the more extraordinary things any character in any animated show has done. He was a fish. He became a fish with legs. He walked across a city. He grew lungs because someone loved him. He was adopted. He went to school. He fell in love. He became someone's moral anchor. He became a boyfriend. He became a brother. He became the heart of a family. In approximately 10 years of in-universe time, starting from a fishbowl, the distance between where he started and where he ended up is more remarkable than anything any character in Elmore has ever covered. Fact number 188. The shot of Darwin emerging from the sewer at the beginning of the Origins Part 2, taking his first look at the world outside the ocean, is one of the show's quietest pieces of visual storytelling. Now, it is just a small orange shape looking at a very large world. He does not know yet what he is capable of. He does not know yet that he will grow lungs and legs and make it all the way home. He just knows where he wants to be. The rest follows from that. Fact number 189. Darwin is, in the language the show eventually developed for understanding Elmore's nature, a character who survived the void's judgment because he became worth keeping. He started as a background fish. He ended as the character the protagonist cannot exist without. That transition is what the show, at its most generous and most honest, is about. Characters who become more than they were. Stories that grow past their initial shape. Fact number 190. The show's original concept, before it was revised into the family sitcom we know, was about rejected cartoon characters attending a remedial school. Darwin was not originally part of that concept in his current form. He was added because Ben Bockelay liked his design and wanted to give him a home. In doing so, he gave an otherwise homeless character the most loving, chaotic, imperfect, genuine home in all of animation. Darwin was a reject who found his place. That is maybe the thing the show is most quietly about. Fact number 191. Darwin has demonstrated over the course of the show that happiness is not passive for him. It is active. It is something he works toward, in himself and in others. He is not someone things happen to. He is someone who makes decisions about how to meet the world, and most of those decisions trend toward warmth. This is the trait that makes him, in the end, now the character that holds the show together. Fact number 192. The episode The Question asks a genuinely enormous thing of its characters and of its viewers. What is the point of it all? Why do any of the things they do on any given day matter? Darwin's approach to this question is different from Gumball's spiral. Darwin narrows the question. He asks it at the level of today, of this conversation, of this person in front of me. The question doesn't need to be answered at cosmic scale to be worth asking. It just needs an honest local answer. Does this moment matter? Is this person worth caring about? Yes, Pat. Yes, it is. Yes, they are. Fact number 193. Darwin and Carrie's relationship in the revival series has been confirmed by Ben Bockelay as something the show intends to continue developing. Now, there are dedicated episodes planned for them. The creators are aware of how much the fan community cares about this relationship, and they have made space for it. Darwin's love story is not finished. Fact number 194. Darwin is 10 years old. He has been 10 years old throughout the show's entire run, in the way that animated characters tend to remain the age they are assigned and never move away from it. He is 10, and he has all the wisdom of a 10-year-old, which is more than most adults give 10-year-olds credit for. He is 10, and he loves someone. He is 10, and he has survived things that would level most people. He is 10, and he is the heart of one of the best animated shows ever made. Fact number 195. The real-world equivalent of Darwin's transformation. A fish evolving into a walking, talking person is not possible in any biological timeline except the one the show presents. But the show is not making a claim about biology. It is making a claim about love. It is saying that love is a force that reshapes things, that the specific quality of being loved and loving back produces people who could not have existed otherwise. Darwin is the proof of that claim made visible. He is what love looks like when it gets to finish. Fact number 196. The fishbowl that Darwin lived in before his transformation is visible in the house in early episodes. It is just a fishbowl. A small glass sphere containing a small orange fish and nothing else. The distance between that object and the person Darwin became is the entire emotional distance the show has covered. Every episode, in some small way, is about the space between what something starts as and what it becomes when someone pays attention to it. Fact number 197. Darwin's contribution to the Watterson household is not the dramatic, measurable contribution of Nicole's income or Aeneas's intelligence or even Gumball's chaos management. His contribution is softer. It is the texture of the house. It is the quality of how the people in it feel when they are with him. It is hard to articulate and impossible to remove. You would notice immediately if it was gone. Fact number 198. Ben Berkeley named Darwin's inspiration after a real friend who was simply always there, who lived at Berkeley's house more than at his own, who was so present in the daily life of the family that the family absorbed him. This is the quiet miracle of belonging that the show is constantly talking around without stating directly. You can belong to a family not because of biology or law or official adoption, but because you are simply there and because the family you are there with would not be the family it is without you. Fact number 199. The last shot of Darwin in The Origins, before the episode fades out, is him and Gumball asleep together in the back seat of the family car. They made it. They found each other again. And there is nothing left to do in that moment except rest. The show lets them rest. The episode does not need anything else from them. They did the thing. They are together. That's enough. A note before the final fact. If you are still awake at this point, and I hope you are, just barely. With the room settled around you and the night doing what night does, I want to say something that does not fit into the numbered format. Darwin Watterson is, among everything else he is, an argument. He is an argument that the world is better when someone in it has decided to be genuinely good. Not strategically good. Not performatively good. Not good because the rules require it or because the consequences of being otherwise are too severe. Just good. Because it is what they have chosen. Because they looked at the available options and found that warmth was the one worth carrying. There are not many characters in animation, or in storytelling broadly, who manage to embody genuine goodness without becoming boring or sentimental or naive. Darwin manages it because the show does not protect him from the cost of being good. His goodness is tested. It is exploited occasionally. It produces jealousy and possessiveness and fear alongside the warmth, because real humans and real fish who have become people are not made of just one thing. Darwin's goodness has a shadow, as everything real does. The shadow is what makes the goodness credible, and the goodness is what makes the shadow okay. He is not defined by his worst moments. He is defined by what he returns to after them. And what he returns to every time is love. For Gumball, for Carrie, for the Wattersons, for the slightly annoying, occasionally hostile, frequently chaotic world of Elmore that is his home. That is the argument Darwin makes by existing. That love is a choice that can be made again after it has been made badly. That the fish who grew legs to find his family, us who chose belonging over the ocean, who decided that green shoes and a bunk bed and a chaotic blue cat and a ghost girlfriend were exactly what he wanted from existence, was right to choose these things. And that this kind of rightness, quiet and unspectacular and deeply felt, is worth paying attention to. For a very long time in the dark, with a voice in your ear talking about a fish. Fact number 200. Darwin Raglan. Caspian Ahab. Poseidon Nicodemus Watterson III started as a goldfish in a bowl. He became a fish with legs. He walked across a city to find the person he loved. He was given a pair of green shoes that fit. He was welcomed into a family that was already, in every way that mattered, his. He grew up in Elmore. He fell in love. He made friends. He made mistakes, he kept going. But he is 10 years old and a fish and the most human character in the show. He is borrowed from a concept that never got made, given to a concept that grew into something extraordinary. He is the conscience of the story and the heart of the family and the reason Gumball makes it through the day. He is the character Berkeley names when asked who he loves most in the world he made. There is a particular quality to the characters who make it to the end of a story, changed but intact. Darwin changed from a fish into a person, which is the most complete change any character in the show underwent. But he was also, in the most important ways, unchanged. The fish in the bowl was already oriented toward connection, already pointed toward the family in the house outside. Much the person who walked out of the sewer after the journey was the same orientation, just given a body adequate to the task. He was always going to end up where he ended up. The journey was just the world catching up to what was already true. He is still out there, in Elmore, in his green shoes, beside the window, probably thinking about Carrie, probably checking on Gumball, probably being patient with Richard and warm with Nicole and thoughtfully kind with Aeneas, being exactly who he has always been. The fish who decided to be a person and did it so completely that the decision became the truth. That is Darwin Watterson. All 200 facts of him. And the story is nowhere near over. One last thing before the silence settles. The Amazing World of Gumball ended its original run in 2019 and returned in 2025 as The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. Across that entire span of years, through the gap and through the return, Darwin remained the character fans most wanted to know was okay. When the revival was announced and details began to emerge, one of the first questions people asked was about Carrie and Darwin. Ben Bockley answered by confirming that there is a dedicated double episode for them. That information was enough. The audience for Darwin knew what that meant. It meant he would get more of the story. It meant the love story would be continued with the care it deserved. That is what it looks like when a character becomes real to people. Not when the merchandise sells. Not when the show wins awards. When the audience, years after the show paused, still wants to know what happened to him, still worries about him, still hopes that he is okay, and that his girlfriend is okay, and that his family is still together, and that Elmore is still standing. Darwin earned that kind of caring from the people who watched him. He earned it by being, across 16 seasons worth of story, the most earnest and honest and genuinely loving presence in a world that sometimes forgot to slow down long enough to feel things. He was always feeling things. He was always slowing down. He was always the character who made everything else land by caring about it first. That is the final fact. Not a numbered one, just a true one. Darwin Watterson made it matter. Everything else followed from that. Thank you so much for spending this time here tonight. I genuinely mean it. Now, if you made it all the way to Fact 200, you are the audience this channel was built for. You are the person who stays up past when they should, thinking about animated fish and the nature of belonging, and what it means that a character can love someone enough to grow legs. If you enjoyed this and you want more long-form deep dives into the world of the amazing world of Gumball, please like this video and subscribe to Watterson Lore. Every subscriber is what keeps this channel going, and I have so much more I want to talk about. There are characters we haven't touched yet. There are episodes with more inside them than anyone has written about. There are theories I have been sitting with for months that are just waiting for the right night. For now, though, the lights are low. The voice in your ear is fading. Elmore is still out there, signal holding, static at bay. Darwin is asleep in his bunk bed, probably dreaming about something warm. And so, if all has gone according to plan, are you? Good night, everyone. Sleep well.